Hello everyone and welcome back to another high-level match of StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a best-of-3 series of Terran versus Zerg, where in game number 1, oh shit, this is gonna be a little bit of StarCraft trivia, isn't it? I think this is Grassvan. This is one of the new maps. All of these games that we're gonna be having a look at today, they are played on the new maps. I think this is Grassvan. Anyways, so spawning right here in the top left-hand corner, playing with the red Terran SCVs, we have HeroMarine. And his opponent, in the opposite corner, playing with the blue Zerg drones, he is Reynor. I got it right! Woo! Playing caster trivia here. It's gonna take me a little bit, okay, to learn all of the new map names. Just in case you haven't watched my most recent couple of uploads, which I know doesn't happen because every single one of you watches every single one of my videos. Right? You wouldn't just skip one. But anyways, just on the off chance that you are unfamiliar, we've got a new multiplayer balance patch, but also a new StarCraft 2 map pool. Now, the new multiplayer balance patch, these games are played with the new changes. However, the changes that I've originally announced like a month or so ago, they have been tweaked for some time. I think right now we're in like the 1.9 or so edition of the patch notes. Essentially, all of the cool stuff, it's gotten tuned back a little bit closer to the original values that we were already on. For example, Brute Lords are still faster than they used to be, but a little bit less fast. Ravager Morphin time is still slower, but a little bit less slow. Hydras are faster off creep, but they're no longer faster on creep. Ghosts have changed a little bit. Cyclones now also have an additional feature, I suppose is what we can call it, where let me get this straight. Yeah, so Cyclones, the lock-on will now prioritize air units if they have an anti-ground attack. So the air units will be targeted if they have an so for example, the Locust will not be targeted, right? So say you want to go for a bunch of Cyclones right now in the current version of StarCraft 2, and the opponent makes a bunch of Swarm hosts. Generally speaking, you'll waste your lock-on every single one of those Locusts, so I think that's a change specifically for that. You can still obviously manually cast it if you really want to. And then on top of that, the Liberators are also now 150, 125 rather than 150, 150. I think that's about a good TLDR, although obviously there's a long list of changes. But all of it is honestly relatively minor. Like, initially especially the Brute Lords and the Hydras, right? As a Zerg player, that got me very excited. I mean, they're still going to be noticeably quicker, but not quite as quick as they originally were intended to be. Anyways, doesn't really matter. Let's see. Okay, Queen. Ooh. He almost booped that Queen with a grenade in range to shoot at that Reaper once more. That would have been one way to lose it. Looks like he's going to be okay right here. So standard openers from the both of them. Honestly, generally speaking, of course, both HeroMarine and Reynor, they play very standard builds. And since these are new maps, so by the time you're watching this video, I'm currently in the process of preparing some content in advance. By the time you're watching this video, these maps have been around for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. I mean, they've been around for longer, but I think the players have probably been practicing on them for about that long. As of these games being played, however, I think the maps were probably around for like 2 days. So I can imagine that we're gonna see mostly standard games from the both of them. Just, whoa, Brenda! What the hell was that? Anyways, I can imagine we're gonna probably be seeing mostly standard games because both of these guys are generally considered to be standard, quote-unquote, standard players. And on new maps, some people like to experiment, but a lot of these players also do enjoy just doing what they are most comfortable with. But look at that. There's actually apparently a dog walking around. And very important, this is critical, you can't click the dog. So that means you can't just target fire it down. Very important. I mean, everybody in StarCraft 2 knows that killing the critters is bad luck. However, some players don't keep to that rule. I think Harstem is one of those guys. Oh my god, I can't believe it. Killing the critters? That's bad luck, for sure. Anyway, Hellion opener right now into a Liberator. That is a little bit interesting. Liberators are a little bit cheaper, like I said, so maybe that's the reason why HeroMarine is once again mixing them in. But for the longest time, over the last year or so, we have been seeing the 1-1-1, usually with a quick third command center, into a Banshee. Now, before the Banshee, we used to see 1-1-1 into a Liberator a lot. And then players started abusing it by going for like roach-based aggression and roach pushes in general. And players, you know, switched away from the Liberators to Banshees, and now apparently we're going back to Liberators. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we're going to be seeing a bunch of roach openers once again in the near future. Anyhow, what exactly do we have right here for the Zerg? Okay, so this is a little bit interesting. The standard for Reynor would be to go to a lair and then to Baneling speed before going for the double evo upgrades. In this particular case, he's going to be prioritizing those upgrades first, which is nice. However, also a little bit risky. Because if Terran decides to go for a timing attack here momentarily, he could be in some trouble. Hellion spoken at the front, Queen in the main base, okay. Stepping just barely outside of that circle. If the Queen's toe, like one of those little toes, is still within that circle, she will get shot at. But for now, that Liberator gets pushed back with 0 kills. And so far, this is a fantastic game right here for Reynor. It happens time and time again that we see a bunch of those Hellions or the Liberators or the Banshees or whatever going into the opponent's bases, roasting a dozen or so workers. But so far, Reynor has lost a whole lot of nothing, while only making, well, he's got 20 Zerglings here, but that is nothing all too crazy. Maybe these Hellions can now get something done, though, because the Queens were sleeping on the job. The Zergling micro is going to have to be perfect. Okay, you know what? This is going to work. Yeah, this is going to do quite a bit of damage, I think. Beautiful control here by HeroMarine. Sniping those units. The Queen in the main base from earlier. Maybe her toes weren't inside of that circle, but at least, there you go. She is going to get sniped. And now the drones are next. You do want to kill a healthy chunk of workers, though, if you sacrifice all of these Hellions. So far, 8 drones is actually not enough. You know what? Never mind. I thought this was going to do more damage. Really nice drone splitting right there. If you look at the resources lost, it's 10 Hellions right here, but for 8 workers. I don't think that trade really works out. And obviously, we did have the workers not mining there for quite a while either. So at least there's a bunch of potential lost mining. Anyhow, Baneling speed, like I mentioned, not done yet. And actually, in the midst of all that chaos, Reynor forgot putting down his Baneling nest. So he's going to finish up 1-1 here, but Baneling speed is going to be super duper late. That is going to be several minutes later than you ideally wanted. Okay, Marine drop over here, dealing a little bit of damage. Queen's right now trying to target fire down the Medivacs as well, but the Queen leading that pack, she already got picked off. This will be pushed back, don't lose the Medivac. I mean, there's no units in it, so good control right there by HeroMarine. Who's gonna keep piling on the pressure. Okay, he is gonna keep piling on the pressure, as he's once again stimming more units towards the other side of the map, towards that 6 o'clock base. Resvan is relatively wide open. So you should be able to expand here relatively easily compared to Terran, at least, as the Zerg. Ooh, that was sexy. Preventing that Widow Mine from killing much of anything. Yeah, that Spore is going to finish here eventually. At the same time, though, that drop, okay, from earlier. Not a lot of Marines remaining, but at least enough to still deny this. Drone gets targeted as well, and HeroMarine is honestly on fire, man. He seems to be outpacing one of the absolute fastest players in StarCraft 2 right now. Reynor not shying away from playing at 500 APM if he needs to. A lot of Queens going down. That is rough. Yeah, losing those Queens. Okay, now Banelings finally show up. Good Baneling detonation there as well. Losing those Queens, super painful. Losing those drones, likewise also not what you're looking for here as the Zerg player at all. And HeroMarine is all over Reynor here in game number 1. Yep. One little slip up, right? So where did it go wrong? Well, the Queens were right over here, I think, when they should have been right over there. It's a small difference, but those Hellions being able to drive into the Zerg's natural there. I mean, they necessarily didn't have the best trade, right? But they created a lot of chaos, and they made Reynor slip up here and there. Creep spread is still looking really good, though. So despite the fact that those creep tumors, they take a little bit longer, right, to be re-spreadable, apparently, yeah, it's not really slowing down Reynor's creep spread all too much. Brilliant splits here as well. Really nicely done here by the biggest of Gapes. He's going to continue piling on the pressure, and honestly, this is the Zerg nightmare, right? The Terran dream here. Hydras are coming out. Okay. These guys are without a private plane right now, so I think they'll settle right here with killing the Spore Crawler and then go back home. They might get picked up. They might get picked up again, though, momentarily. We'll see. Yeah, Reynor's hanging in there. So he has finished 2-2. That is one thing that he's got going for him, right? Those upgrades are fantastic. He's also now got Baneling speed. Hydraling Bane has a lot of potential. If HeroMarine messes up his early game micro here, or yeah, I think this is now considered to be mid game. But anyway, if he messes up his micro here, There's no denying that there's still a chance for Zerg to come back, but it's gonna require several mistakes. Oh, look at those Marines just standing their ground. They knew they were gonna be able to snipe that in time. GG is called, and HeroMarine dominates in game number 1. Alright, game 2. We find ourselves on Royal Blood. Excellent game right there from HeroMarine. Piling on the pressure, using that tempo advantage of his. Gets to the other side of the map right now with his very first unit, and, well, he sees that everything is a-okay right here. Hatch gas pool from Reynor. He'll be going into Zergling speed here momentarily, but he did decide to go for the really quick third hatchery. Can the Reaper get any damage in? I mean, it's softening up those Zerglings. They're gonna take a little bit. They now want to be protecting that queen as well to the best of their abilities. But that tumor is not gonna go down. Alright, once again, quick third command center right here from HeroMarine. He'll be looking to repeat what he did in game number 1. Seen a couple people ask, by the way, what's the deal with this? What's the deal with sometimes one of those mules being sent away? It turns out that a mule has a limited amount of trips that it can make, right? So say you land a mule right over here, it will mine a certain amount of times before it will inevitably die. And on some maps in some locations, it dies with a bunch of minerals held in its arms. And it turns out, right, if, say, for example, the mule is mining from that mineral field right over there and it returns and it then dies halfway before returning its cargo to the command center, those minerals disappear. So if you want to min-max everything, and at this point in the game there's not that much to manage yet, it's better to prevent that from happening. Some mineral laundering going on here inside of the main base of Terran players if you're not careful. Where did the minerals go, sir? I don't know. They just disappeared. We don't know where they went, okay? It got sent into the void. Stimpack upgrade here. Nice and early. So we've got ourselves a triple CC opener with a 2-1-1. A little bit of variety here from HeroMarine. I'm not expecting any Liberators in this particular match. Instead, we'll be seeing the Metavex coming out here very soon. He should be finishing up Stimpack here at about the 5-minute mark. You'll probably be flying 2 Metavex full of Marines across the map at that point as well. And at this point, the Reynor doesn't really know. It's always tricky for the Zerg player to figure out exactly what they're going up against. So one thing that Reynor does see here is a couple of Hellions, right? But they're trickling out of that Terran base. Normally, you'd expect Hellion 3 and 4 to be a little bit sooner. I don't know if he's seen the... no, he has not seen the timing right there of the supply depots right there at the front. But that can also be a pretty significant tell for the Zerg. Just because if you go for a quick 3rd CC opener, you obviously don't need to have additional supply depots nearly as quickly. Because the command center itself also grants supply. So there are little tells that do help the Zerg quite a bit. Anyhow, Metavex are going to finish here momentarily. The timing is of course a little bit different. So this is a variation on a theme here from Big Gabe. So generally speaking, we'd see the Metavex out already at this point, but they're actually a little bit later here. Reason for that is because we did have those Hellions, we did have a 3rd command center, so this is not the most optimal version of the 2-1-1 opener, but it's a more economical approach. So that way you obviously don't really need to deal any damage on the other side of the map to justify this build. And one nice advantage of this opener is that after game number 1, right, there's a chance with that Liberator start and that Hellion shenanigans, there's a chance that the Reynor would go for a Roach Push. And this is one of those builds that's really quite good against those Roach Pushes because you finish up Stimpack right around the time as those Roaches would arrive on the other side of the map while still having 3 CCs. Not maybe as clean as having a Banshee up in the air, but this is definitely going to allow HeroMarine to transition towards a nice mid-game. We're going to once again see a similar unit type here from both players. Okay, good transfusions right there. At the same time, by the way, we do have that build order transition here as well from Reynor. Opting to go for a faster baneling speed and then a delayed +1/+1. This is that build that I was trying to mention in the previous game. This is the gold standard for Zerg. This is what we've been seeing many, many times and what Reynor will be most comfortable playing. The advantage of this particular build for Zerg is that you really can't take damage from anything if you do it really well. Obviously, you can still mess it up and have a bunch of units in your base when you don't expect them, but this is the Zerg bread and butter. This is what you'll see Sarah play pretty much exclusively, just because this is, well, incapable of taking damage if you control everything really well. HeroMarine trying his very best So far, not really getting a whole lot of work done other than maybe a couple of creep tumors. Yeah, 3 of those have gone down. At the same time, though, Zerglings, okay. Get into the main base. They get into the natural as well, and this is dealing a bunch of damage. Ooh. There were Hellions, there were Widow Mines, there were reinforcing bio units as well, but for some reason... Big Gabe taking a bunch of SCV losses, actually. 15 SCVs, that's huge. Oh, okay. Well, that tempo lead that HeroMarine relied on in game number 1 is not an option in game 2. Right now, we are looking at a tempo advantage for the Zerg here, who is now leveraging his way into 4 base saturation, already at 80 drones. Hydralisk Den coming up right now as well. He'll probably go straight into 2-2 as well. Now suddenly you have to play a much slower game here as HeroMarine. He's opted to go for only the attack upgrade for now. Can't really afford both of them as he has to replace those workers that he's lost. Is he going to go for a 4th command center? Well, at this point in the game, he's got 5 barracks. There is, of course, always the option, and there's a lot of banelings here hiding off to the side. They might be looking for one of these 2 mineral lines here. There's always an option to add on additional barracks, of course, and then go for an all-out assault, but usually you really want to do so without losing anything. SCVs forced to scramble for their lives right now. Only 3 end up going down right there in the natural, but more do find their graves over at the 3rd. 13 SCVs on top of the ones he's already lost earlier. Push in the meantime on the other side of the map. Getting shut down. Maybe that Widow Mine? Okay, that Widow Mine was decent. Oh, no. He just stood there waiting. Oh, this is so painful. Yeah. Yeah, this is one of those games that, as a Terran, you can't really tap out. But you also know that you can't really win. Unless the Zerg makes a massive screw-up. It's a 180 from the previous game that we just saw. Yeah. It's a good example, though, of what both of the players are looking for, right? In a match of StarCraft 2. Even though we have very similar unit comps. One game going heavily in favor of the Zerg. 10 more SCVs, by the way, have gone down here. Yeah, one game going heavily in favor of the Zerg, and the other one going heavily in favor of the Terran. GG is immediately called. HeroMarine realizes that there's no way he's going to be able to win against someone of the caliber of a Reynor. Alrighty, and that brings us to Babylon, and that's going to be our final map for today. Would you look at that, actually? We've got a pattern in the creep. We've got some creep crop circles going on over here, man. You'll love to see it. Ah, okay, that's what it is. So we can see right here on the Terran side. I thought it was like some sort of Protoss thing, but I think this is like a Xel'Naga type of, I don't know, rock formation with a bunch of Xel'Naga text carved into it. Looks like something that Mr. Zeratul would be looking for. Anyhow, apparently you can actually see it through the creep, which is kind of nice. Not expecting any craziness in this particular game. We saw both players trying out a couple builds, but none of those builds were all too ridiculous. Reynor going for a 1-1 before the bailing speed in game 1. Then he decided to go for bailing speed into 1-1 in game 2, and that worked out a whole lot better. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he once again decides to go for something along those lines here on Babylon. The same for HeroMarine. I mean, he decided to go for a 1-1-1 in game number 1 with a quick 3rd command center. Then he went for a 2-1-1 in game number 2, again with a quick 3rd command center. I would imagine he's once again going to be playing Bio. He's once again going to be playing triple CC, but maybe with some different units before he gets to that biological mid-game. That's my prediction. I don't know. Will it be true? We'll find out very soon. Reynor, by the way, recently moving on over to the Netherlands. Making the best choice anyone can make. Moving to the greatest country in the world. Okay, no. I mean, the Netherlands is pretty solid overall. Yeah, I can't complain, but... Gotta be super proud, right? When you're talking about your country on the internet, even though you might not feel that nationalistic overall. Yeah. The Netherlands. Ooh. Greatest place on earth. It actually does surprise me, though, the amount of, like, Dutch content creators there are for RTS games, but, you know, also in particular StarCraft 2. It seems that most of the StarCraft 2 YouTube scene, at the very least, is just a bunch of Dutch guys coming together. Most of us actually don't even live that far apart either, which is kind of interesting. I only found out recently about this. I mean, to be fair, I live in a city called Amersfoort. And Amersfoort is right smack dead in the center of the country. And I can be basically in any... I can be in any place that matters, okay? Within about an hour, right? An hour drive, maybe an hour and a half to any place that, you know, is relevant. I mean, maybe not all the way down south, maybe not all the way in like the northeast, but those are places you don't want to go to anyways. I mean, down south, that's practically Belgium. No, wouldn't want to go there. I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. I mean, I'm not, but I'm kidding, I'm kidding. It's once again, by the way, a quick triple CC opener right here from HeroMarine. What's the follow-up going to be? It's a starport. Amazing. Tech lab? Tech lab. No? Okay, fine. No tech lab, guys. What is that? It's an Urubu. An Ubu-rubu-bu. No! What? Reynor! An Ubu-rubu-bu-bu. Okay, no. No. I hate everything about that. Reynor, why in the world? That's bad luck, mate. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to cheer for HeroMarine right now. You've been making a lot of good choices. Moving to the Netherlands, for example, that's one of them. Killing the Ubu-rubu-bu-bu is certainly not one of them, okay? By the way, I've got a theory, right? We've got these, like, sneaky bear type of things everywhere. On every map in StarCraft 2 now. They're hiding everywhere, dude. So we found out recently there's a bunch over here. Look, this guy is literally playing the drums on top of a Terran Marine, right? They're burning Terran units. They look friendly, they look cute, but I believe they're not, man. This is some sort of, like, satanic ritual over here. This is messed up. I don't believe it. Ooh, okay. So, Fusion Core is coming up right now here for HeroMarine. Interesting. It's gonna be some Kettle Bruiser play. Pretty slow battle cruiser, though, all things considered. We're gonna make another one. Are we not gonna go tech lab, or are we gonna do the big switcheroo? Alright. Yep. I mean, with the timings here, we could have already just made one. Would have worked out a little bit better, but anyhow, doesn't really matter. Roachborn is already coming up, however, for Reynor, so he is also mixing it up. Reynor going for a Roach-based mid-game, whereas HeroMarine is gonna go for a battlecruiser opener. Now, this will work out quite nicely, I would imagine, here for Reynor, because he's already roughly scouted what he went against, and that's probably why he decided to go for a Roachborn this time around. He looked at this, he's like, you know what? That looks like a battlecruiser opener to me. Most Zerg players like to play Roach Ravager Corruptor against Terran Mech, for example. Now, this is unlikely to be Terran Mech, but it could be. Spore Crawlers are coming up at the correct moment, by the way. So Reynor, like, this is a timer right here, or timing right here to have Spore Crawlers ready against the delayed battlecruiser opener. So he's going to be A-okay against that BC. But you never know, right? Sometimes when there's smoke, there's fire. And sometimes when there's one battlecruiser, there's going to be two battlecruisers. And sometimes when there's two battlecruisers, there's going to be multiples. So you got to be very careful. And battlecruiser into mech is certainly a build. Not going to be the case here, though. It's going to be 1-1 here into the Stimpec research. But Roach Ravager Corruptor is still really good against that unit comp, although against only a single battlecruiser opener, so there it is. Yeah, this is going to be a single BC start. You don't necessarily want to be making a Spire here. Okay, so Queens are already ready. Good transfusion energy, saved up as well. Beautiful defense right here. Even that ritual is not going to help you out. Reynor's creep spread is once again looking ridiculous, by the way, right? I mean, we're 6 minutes and 18 seconds in. It's once more looking quite nuts. So how many are we on? We're already at 34 creep tumors. That's a lot of creep tumors. And this is against a Terran player who's been actively trying to deny it as well. He's already killed 4, yeah. BC, by the way, trying to get some work done, but not a whole lot. Spire does come up right here for Reynor. Okay. So this could be for Mutas. Muta Ravager, or sorry, Muta Roach is quite interesting. He's already transitioning as well towards the +1 melee upgrade here. Oh, he cancelled it. Okay, I was gonna say, there's no more, okay. Yeah, +1 melee is already coming up, so he does want to transition away from those roaches initially. They were more or less like a stepping stone. Fair enough. But he's transitioning right now away from that that potential Muta switch or the Corruptors, and he's instead gonna go for a Bingling Nest. So Queens alone, I think he added on a couple more. Yeah, 11 here in total. Queens alone are gonna be enough, apparently, to deal with the BC. And I think he's right. Not a successful start here for HeroMarine, though. Like, his eco is fine, but all the units he's built, a lot of them are pointless. I mean, all the units he's built, a lot of them are pointless. But you get what I'm trying to say, though. The Hellions, not very useful anymore. Viking, not going to be all too useful anymore. Battlecruiser, also, honestly, not too useful anymore. And while they've killed a little bit, Zerg is still at 82 workers here, and that is the Zerg sweet spot. That is where they really like to be. He's going for roach speed, he's going for baneling speed, he's got double upgrades about to finish up. We're even going to go straight into an infestation pit as well, so Reynor could be transitioning towards some hive here very shortly too. We've seen a lot of Zerg players, like for example Dark, rushing out the adrenal glands research, which can be incredibly potent. Are we going to morph in some Banes? Yeah, we have a nice wall off over here, but that supply depot in this spot is also pretty... Oh, look, it's another one. An Urubu. They're kind of cute. Supply depots are lifted. At the same time, though, there's a big fight happening here on the left side of the map. Baneling speed is not done just yet. Roach speed is finishing. Queens have a lot of transfusion energy. He wants to wait until baneling speed is done, but that's going to be still about a half minute or so. This is a tricky little fight. Looks like the reinforcing Terran units, by the way, have cleaned up the Zergling counterattack. Roaches are being transfused. Battlecruiser jumps up north to try and go after that newly acquired 5th hatch. Okay, Corrosive Ball does connect right there with 2 Marines, I believe. Zerglings are bleeding out. Very awkward fight here with a lot of the Zerg units derping around, but Reynor barely has enough, it seems. Spore Crawlers rushing on over, using all of their little legs to try and deny that Battlecruiser from killing the hatchery. Losing the hatch would kind of suck at the same time, though. The Bioforce is continuing onwards. Good target firing out here on the Queens, killing 2 of the Medivacs. BC? Oh no, the BC actually just died. I want to go back to the dramatic moment. Oh no, that's rough. That is not what you want to have happen at all. That is honestly pretty bad. 400 minerals, 300 gas for 1 Battlecruiser. I understand that it's not super helpful anymore at this stage in the game, but it's good, right? Like, it's still good to have. That is the same as, like, having a command center burn all the way down. Especially since it didn't even kill the hatchery. Anyhow. Good splits right here. HeroMarine, finding himself in a pretty damn good spot overall, though. Man, imagine if he didn't lose that BC. It would be at, like, 170 supply right now. Here's a reinforcing Terran unit showing up as well. Okay. Banelings morphing in a little bit too close to this party, I would say. Marauders in the front trying to soak up as many of those Baneling hits as possible as well. Queens, Roaches, Zerglings. Okay, they're just about to finish up the 2-2 upgrades as well. That is going to make those Lings and Banes a whole lot more terrifying. Hive has just started up, and Reynor once again is okay. Yeah, so he's taken a lot of damage on a lot of his troops, but he hasn't lost his eco. And not losing the economy is the most important part right here for Zerg. He's been outmining the Terran here for a long time. I mean, sometimes there's some peaks and valleys, primarily because of the fact that there's mules that are mining out, and then they run out of juice. Fights are constantly taking place on the edge of creep, so the creep spread I was bringing up earlier is turning out to be absolutely critical. If that creep was a little further back still, I mean, it's already pretty pushed back. Oh, really? Wait. Reynor. I mean, this was a very committed push, right? Don't get me wrong. It's an 8 Rex push here from the Terran player. So that is more than you... So normally as Terran, you go for about 5 barracks on 3 command centers, and then you go for a 4th command center. This was HeroMarine going for what is essentially an all-in. But this did not quite feel to me as a game that he really needed to tap out of. That's something that we've seen for many years in StarCraft 2, right? Where players don't necessarily fight for as long as you'd like them to, especially if you're a new viewer to the game. I know it can be a little bit weird how, yeah, pro gamers seem to tap out really early. Most of the time, I don't think it's an issue, but I don't believe that HeroMarine really had to tap out of this one here. In his mind, though, he knew that the Hive would be finishing up very soon. We'd probably be going into Ultras or something along those lines. At the very least, we'd have those Hive tech upgrades, whereas HeroMarine is just sitting here on a mid-game army. But still, especially since there's money on the line, right? This was played as part of the ESL Open Cup. I wouldn't mind seeing him just put all of his eggs in one basket, make one maxed out army, maybe bring all of the boys to watch the other side of the map for one final hurrah, because even if you think of your win chances as maybe less than like 10%, you may as well stick around for just a couple more minutes and just go for one final assault. Anyhow, it's Reynor who ends up winning 2-1 over HeroMarine.